Hi everyone. Today, I'm so excited to share a special design with you, this adorable roasted sweet potato. Using only basic stitches and my step-by-step guidance, I'm sure even beginners can create this beauty. It makes such a unique and lovely keychain, you really don't want to miss this one. Let's grab your hooks and start this new journey together. Thank you for being here. This channel began as a small dream, and your support is what keeps it alive. Creating crochet tutorials takes both time and resources, but sharing them with you makes it all worthwhile. If my videos bring you joy or inspire your creativity, you can support the channel through the "Thanks" button. Every little bit helps me continue making meaningful crochet content for you. First, let's crochet the inner part of the sweet potato. Using a yellow-orange yarn is ideal here, as it makes the finished product look much more vibrant and realistic. Starting with round 1, create a magic ring. Chain 1. And work 6 single crochet stitches into the ring. 1. Be sure to mark the first stitch of the round so you don't lose your place. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will be working in a continuous spiral, so there's no need to join the rounds with a slip stitch. For round 2, work 1 single crochet. Followed by an increase. An increase simply means working 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until the end of the round. Moving on to round 3, work 1 single crochet. Followed by an increase. And then another single crochet. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until you reach the end of the round. Now for round 4, work 3 single crochets. 2, 3, followed by an increase. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until the end of the round. We'll continue to increase our stitch count following the pattern shown on the screen. The technique remains exactly the same as what I've demonstrated. Feel free to pause the video here so you can work at your own pace and catch up with me. After finishing round 15, let's move on to round 16. The sequence for this round is 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 decrease. and 5 more single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5. That completes our first set. Now, repeat this sequence 2 more times to finish the round. For round 17, work 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, followed by a decrease. That completes our first set. Now, repeat this sequence 2 more times to finish the round. From here, we will continue to decrease our stitches. I've placed the remaining pattern on the screen for you to follow. Feel free to pause the video now so you can work at your own pace and catch up with me for the next part. Once you've completed round 23, it's time to start stuffing. Gently add the fiber fill until your sweet potato has a nice, firm shape. After completing round 25, pull through a yarn tail about 15 centimeters long and cut the yarn. We will use this end for sewing later. And there we have it, the inner flesh of our sweet potato is now complete. It's looking great so far. Now, grab your tapestry needle and weave it through the remaining stitches to sew the opening shut. Pull the yarn gently to close the hole completely. Next, we'll move on to the outer peel of our sweet potato. For rounds 1 through 9, the steps are exactly the same as the ones we used for the inner part. I've put the pattern on the screen for you. Feel free to pause the video here and crochet along until you've caught up with me. Once you've finished round 9, let's move on to round 10. Work 11 single crochets. 3, 4, 5, 11, followed by an increase. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until the end of the round. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until the end of the round. One increase. And 6 more single crochets. Repeat this sequence 2 more times until the end of the round. For round 12, simply work 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Then, for round 13, repeat the same process as round 12, maintaining our stitch count of 42. Moving to round 14, start with 1 single crochet. Then continue working 40 more single crochets. After completing the 41 single crochets, pull the yarn through and cut the yarn. Make sure to tie a secure knot here to prevent your stitches from unraveling or slipping. Let's go back to the first stitch of round 14. Insert your hook into the stitch, draw up a loop. And chain 1. Work a single crochet into that same stitch. If you're new to crochet, I highly recommend placing a stitch marker in this first stitch to help you keep track of your rounds much more easily. Then continue with 39 more single crochets across the round. As you crochet, remember to work over the yarn tails to keep your project neat and secure the ends. This will give your work a clean, professional finish. Once you've finished, pull the yarn through, cut it, and tie a knot just as I demonstrated earlier in the video. Returning to the first stitch of round 15. Chain 1. And work a slip stitch into the same stitch. Continue with 2 more slip stitches. This gives us a total of 3 slip stitches at the beginning of this section. Then work 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, followed by a decrease. Repeat this sequence 10 single crochets, 1 decrease 2 more times. In the final stitch, work 1 last slip stitch. To finish, pull up the yarn, cut, and secure it with a knot. For round 17, go back to the first stitch of round 16. Skip the very first stitch. And insert your hook into the next one. Chain 1, then work 8 single crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, followed by a decrease. Repeat the sequence, 8 single crochets and 1 decrease, 2 more times. In the final stitch, work 1 single crochet. Finally, pull the yarn through, cut, and secure it with a knot. For round 18, go back to the first stitch of round 17. Skip the first stitch, then work 27 single crochets across the row. For the very last stitch, we'll work a slip stitch downwards. Please watch my movements closely to see exactly how I position the hook. Fasten off and secure with a knot as before. For round 19, we will skip the first stitch again. And work 26 single crochets. Once you're done, cut the yarn and secure it with a knot, just as we've done in the previous steps. For round 20, we'll start decreasing the stitch count. Work 11 single crochets. followed by a decrease. Repeat this sequence one more time. Finally, fasten off by cutting the yarn and tying a secure knot. Please continue decreasing according to the pattern shown on the screen. You can pause the video here to work at your own pace and catch up. The technique remains exactly the same as what I've been demonstrating so far. After completing round 29, let's move on to round 30. Simply work one single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Chain 1. And work a slip stitch into the first single crochet to join. For round 31, chain 1. And work a single crochet into the same stitch as the chain. Then, simply continue to place one single crochet in each stitch until the end of the round. Join the round with a slip stitch, then pull through a yarn tail about 15 centimeters long and cut the yarn. We will need this long tail for sewing the pieces together later. We've basically finished the outer peel of our sweet potato. Now, I'll show you how to weave in the yarn tails to give our product a neat and professional finish. I'll demonstrate the technique with this first yarn tail, and then you can go ahead and do the same for the remaining ones. Now, let's assemble the inner flesh and the outer peel together. You can add a little bit of fiberfill underneath the peel before sewing to give your sweet potato a fuller and more realistic shape. Place the eyes on round 8, leaving a distance of about 3 to 4 stitches between them. Embroider a small mouth using black yarn to finish the facial features. Now, let's add some decorative embroidery to give the sweet potato more texture. A few small stitches here and there will make it look much more realistic and full of character. If you'd like to create a whole sweet potato family, I've linked a tutorial for a tiny version in the description below. Feel free to check it out. Thank you so much for supporting my video. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Goodbye for now, and happy crocheting!